Alright, so today I'm going to tell you about my Chevy Trailblazer. Hold on, I got to take off some of this camo. I don't think you guys can see me like this. Got to take off a little bit of this camo now. I'm down to Carhartt because, we build with our hands. So what do I got to tell you about this Trailblazer here? First thing I got to tell you is American. That's where it was made. Not any of the parts are made in America, but this motherfucker was put together in America. And I'm fucking serious. I'll say it right to their face. Now, I got some modifications I'd like to show you on this thing. By the way, mechanics only smoke white filtered cigarettes. If you smoke one with a yellow filter, that's because you like piss in your mouth. I'm hot in this garage. It's heated up by the maximum horsepower and torque that this engine puts out. Puts out about 4,000 BTUs of heat. America. Okay. Now, so what I got to tell you about this truck is, well, we got in a fight a couple days ago, and I'll tell you what, she took off on me. She found out, well, the reason we got in a fight was because she found out I'd been driving a Cummins, and you know what Cummins are like. Well, she found out I'd been with a Cummins, and she left for about 3 days. I didn't know where the fuck she'd run off to. When she came back, she had this on there. See, and I do believe that's a piston out of a 12-valve Cummins. I think she done killed her. Anyhow, if you don't notice, it's got the rebel flag on there because it is the generally it runs pretty good. Now, you see, this model right here, it's the Sportsman Edition, so it also comes stock, and I'm telling you, bone stock. It comes with a camo lunchbox. Also, it came with all 3 of those camo hats. It also came with this empty Miller Lite can and that Miller Lite shirt I took off earlier. It also came with this American flag Budweiser cutoff. And that's how Chevy runs. Now, let me get to the real goodies here. And now, let me remind you, this is bone stock with modifications. Okay, I'll show you this here. Hold on, I know you can't see this. Let me put my fancy phone down. By the way, this is a Milwaukee 400,000 candlelight trouble light. And the reason they call it a trouble light is because if you shine this in a motherfucker's eyes, he's in trouble because he's going blind. Now, let me show you this. See how it says Vortec 4200? That means it has 4,200 foot-pounds of torque. Bone stock with modifications. Now, I'm telling you, it might only have 15 horsepower, but when you have 4,200 foot-pounds of torque, that means when you put your foot down, you have 4,200 pounds of force behind your foot. That's what foot-pound stands for. Now, let's go to this other modification that it has bone stock. You see that? That's a K&N air filter, straight out of the factory. You'd be surprised. I've started this motor and been standing outside of it because it has the push button start. It's right there. It's kind of a twist key start, but it's the same thing really. And it has actually sucked the cigarette right out of my mouth. And I'm telling you, I probably would have blown, I don't know. I probably wouldn't have been able to stand up too well if it wasn't for that rocking chair. But I wasn't that drunk. Now, I'll tell you what, it sucked that cigarette right out of my mouth. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you here is, it's got the quick disconnect oil cap. Watch this. See that? And smoke comes out. That's because of all those foot-pounds of torque, all 4,200 of them. This thing has a 0 to 60 of 2 seconds. And I'm telling you, bone stock with modifications right out of the factory. You see that? You see this right here? In the shielding? That is Kevlar shielding right there, folks. Kevlar shielding. And it blew right through it with all them foot-pounds. It's got a 17-speed transmission. And I'm telling you, I've never hit 17th gear. Not once. I've only hit 4th gear, and I don't know why. I think it's because it's too fast. When I'm going 175 down the interstate, and I can see the blue lights 2 miles behind me, I still am in 4th gear. I'm telling you. It's got 17 speeds, though. Just believe me on that one. The other thing is here. This is your automatic beer fill-up. You just twist that handle, you pull out the plug, you dump your keg of beer in there, and it adds 14 horsepower. Now that's double the horsepower it came with, because all the foot-pounds of torque, you don't need it. Also here, this is more Kevlar plating. Came with bone stock from the factory, with modifications. And that's so when you set your heavy-ass torque wrench down, because you need all that foot-pounds. You can't work on something with 4,200 foot-pounds of torque unless you have a torque wrench, because this thing is all torque. There is no horsepower here. It's all torque, son. I'm telling you, this thing will outpull a diesel. I have pulled semi-trailers hooked to semis, hooked to tractors, hooked to combines, loaded with hay, because you know combines, they mow hay also, as long as you buy a Chevy one. And I've still never hit 17th gear. I'll tell you that right now. And that's not a lie. Now, something else I'd like to tell you is that I've only ever changed the oil once on this car. It has 197,000 miles on it. And I've only changed the oil once. You know why? Because it has the auto change oil. You see all that oil slick right there? That's where it gets rid of the old oil that you don't need anymore. And you can just put more oil in and never have to change it. It comes right out of that special port right there. Now I'll tell you what. They don't make them like they did in 2003. And you see this chain right here? This is not for pulling me out when I get stuck, because it has 6-wheel drive. The other 2 wheels are in the back. And I'll tell you right now, this is so I can pull semis out of the ditch when they get stuck in 2 inches of ice in the middle of July. I'll tell you that right now. I've done it twice. I also, in this car, have crushed beer cans and started a grass fire at the same time. After I bought this car, the fire department learned my name. I'll tell you that right now, and I'm not lying. Now, the other thing I'd like to show you is this right here. With how much horsepower this thing had, it blew the tip right off. I used to have a large tip on there. It blew it off completely. Blew it right off the truck. This is the old tip right here. And I'm not lying. It blew it right off that truck. This transmission right here, it's out of a GMC. This is what happens when you try to outpull me. I destroy a transmission. That's the kind of torque this has. Now, I'm not going to do the grass fire part of my gig there, where I can start grass fires and crush beer cans at the same time, but I will crush a beer can, just to show you. Those are Ariat boots. They had 43 pounds of stomping power to each foot. That's a total of 74. You wouldn't even believe. Now, got a couple other things to show you here. You see that? Do you see that? Do you see that goddamn wing on the back of this thing? It adds at least, at the very minimum, 4 bags of sand worth of downforce on the rear end. And I'm not joking. I'm telling it straight to your face. It's not a joke. See those tow hooks? That's because I've pulled logs out of the California woods. Better than semis. This thing has more torque than a Cummins. And I'm not lying. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you is, you see this right here, where it looks like it's dented? That's actually special airflow chambers behind the Borla exhaust, which is in the front on this thing, because it has so much torque it can't go all the way back. You don't want an exhaust going all the way back when you have that much torque. You'll rip it right off of this thing, and I'm telling you that right now. It's got a 576 gear ratio in the back. That means that when you hit the gas, there's 576 reasons you don't want to be in front of this truck, and I'm telling you that right now. You have no idea. You see this 124 volts AC single phase safety switch. I had to put that on there because the torque was so extreme that I was putting out 600 volts out of the alternator. And that's just on one cylinder. You don't even know. If I'm firing on all 6, you don't want to be in front of this truck. I'll tell you that right now. Also, it also came with camo floor mats. It came with dip spit already on the driver's side. And that's right out of the factory with modifications. And I'm telling you that. It came with this Milwaukee tape measure. So you can measure your dick against your buddies and show them how much bigger of a dick you got because you got a Chevy Trailblazer. What else? There's some other features I really liked about this thing. Oh yeah, it already came with a 6-pack in the back of Miller Lite. I'll tell you that right now. It's not a joke. You better take me seriously. You see this LT right here? That stands for lacking a turbo because it has so much torque. You don't even know. Let's see, what else? I think it's obviously not all the features this badass Chevy Trailblazer came with, but I'm going to leave it at that for now.